Ever since I was little, my mom always asked me the question before I made a difficult decision. If I give you something sweet and something bitter, which one do you want first? If I give you the sweet one first, the bitter will always take away the taste immediately. What she meant was, if you eat the bitter first, you will enjoy the sweetness for a longer period of time. This was also ingrained in my head by my father, who loves to eat a Chinese vegetable called the bitter melon. To me, it tastes disgusting, but my dad thinks it's healthy, so he would encourage us to eat it by giving us candy after. I realized at a young age that tasting the bitter first makes the sweetness sweeter. In other words, in order to get something that you want that isn't easy, you must struggle at first, but the reward will come later. I decided to use this approach while learning English, which was very difficult for me at first. But as you will see from this story about my father, I had no choice. A few months ago during class, I was startled when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but it started with the area code my father worked in. So I picked up with curiosity. Within the next second, I heard my father's voice in a steady yet frightened tone. My head was filled with questions. I am in class. Why would you call me now? I thought to myself, did you get a new phone? If not, why are you using a stranger's phone? Before all those thoughts could process, I hopped out of my class because my dad needed urgent help. He wanted me to call the police because his car was stolen. Later, I found out that he was in Starbucks to pick up a drink, and when he walked out, his car was gone. You're probably wondering, why did he call me and not the police? You see, our family immigrated to the States 4 years ago, and at that time, no one in my family, including me, knew English, not even the alphabet. And as of today, my parents still don't speak the language well. When anything serious happens, like when a car is stolen, my dad can't speak English fluently enough to be able to communicate freely with others. So I had to take on the responsibility of translating and contacting the necessary people to get his car back. I had no choice but to learn the new language, and I had to learn it well in a short amount of time. It was hard. Up to that point, I rarely pushed myself to learn anything new or difficult. There were many other things to do, like homework, extracurriculars, and sports. I also craved time to relax, socialize, watch a movie, or just sleep a little longer. But there was always the need to practice English. Learning English was very bitter at first. I felt like I was deaf, and everything around me were just random noises that made absolutely no sense. I remember the first day at my new school. Every student was asked to introduce themselves. We were supposed to say our first name, last name, our age, and one hobby. When it was my turn, all the faces turned back and stared directly into my eyes. I didn't know what to do, because I could only pick out the words name and what. The students before me said something like, "My name is," so I just copied them and said in a very strong accent, "My name is Amy." Even before I finished that 4-word sentence, I could tell something was wrong. I couldn't understand any other words such as age or your or the numbers people were saying. So I just said the only phrase I knew. I don't know. Immediately, laughter broke the silence. Students looked at each other and then back at me. And the teacher gestured me to sit down and moved on to the next student. After the first class ended, people were whispering and even feeling secondhand embarrassment. I stood there like a robot, unable to act or react to what was happening around me. When I returned home that afternoon, all those locked reactions that I've been holding all day exploded into uncontrollable tears. A few days later, I came to the realization that crying does no good other than make people around me worry and my eyes red. So I decided to do something about it. I knew this bitterness could not last forever, and I had to do something that would lead to sweetness. I started by gathering the resources I needed, such as books, media platforms, and vocabulary lists. After that, I planned my strategy and got right to work. I set small goals and wrote them in a planner, and at the end of each month, I would mark off the completed tasks and circle the uncompleted ones. I then wrote a short summary of what I improved on that month, such as using a new word when speaking to people or correcting a grammatical error from the previous month. My monthly plans consist of 4 categories: watching videos on Netflix with a little help from my friends, mimicking Rachel, Joey, Chandler, Monica, and Phoebe, and learning vocabulary and phrases, grammar, and speaking. This wasn't very fun and exciting, as it required me to study a set of 2017 encyclopedia books that I found at a local library book sale. Although it was certainly a struggle, studying all day and not being able to go out and have fun, English came more naturally because of my great effort. After about a year, I learned enough vocabulary and phrases. I was able to read some of my favorite books, which I had already read in Chinese. One of the books was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Austen's descriptive use of words and phrases was one of the reasons I fell in love with it. So I knew I needed to read it in English. A few days later, my dad brought me to the bookstore and I got it. After reading and annotating for almost 3 months, I was able to fully understand every word and phrase. One of my favorite quotes from Austen is, "Distance is nothing when one has motive." You see, motive is everything. No matter how far you are from your goal, it is always possible to reach it. This statement summarizes my English learning journey and inspires me to take on whatever challenge may come in the future. Look at me. I can speak to you confidently, and I am succeeding in school and beyond. So, what's your struggle for your reward? Maybe it is that you want to be a master at drawing but don't have natural talents. It doesn't need to be a significant goal. For my method can apply to smaller efforts as well. Is it making sure your homework is done before you pick that video game controller? Is it running that extra lap in order to improve your time and win the race? Or maybe it's just waking up and greeting the day in the most positive way. No matter what your answer is, make sure to choose the bitter first and enjoy the sweet later. Thank you.